What's up, everybody? I'm excited to bring you our next very special guest, Lisanne Murphy. She helps entrepreneurs learn the Midas touch to generate a 4 times return on ad spend using Facebook advertising. She's the host of the Marketing Matrix podcast, and the insights you're going to learn from her in this interview are going to be massive, massive impact to your world. So I'll cue the theme song and let's jump right in.
I've spent the last 20 years studying, teaching, and coaching people to find their greatness and take their lives to the next level. Along the way, it's become evident that emotions are at the root of everybody's successes and failures. Worry and fear are the enemies, and it's time to forge the armor and earn the tools to overcome the two things that could single-handedly destroy your future. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm a life coach, a peak performance trainer, and I'm the emotions guy. It's time to take back control of how you feel, control of how you act, and control of how you experience life. It's time to become a lifer, a new breed of overachiever focused on living every minute to its fullest. We are responsible for how we feel, and no one and no thing can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and emotional education and intelligence is the key. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm so excited that you joined me today. We have an amazing person, a special guest, Lisanne Murphy. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Oh, it is such a pleasure, Michael. I am just thrilled to be here. And I mean, guys, I wish you could have been in on our conversation beforehand, but we're just having a blast. So we finally decided to loop you in, and this is going to be great.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. We're going to let the audience get to know you pretty well today. And of course, our audience knows that we talk about emotion and we talk about some of the core insight stuff. So I'm going to kind of move you that direction as we go. So hopefully we won't ask too personal questions, but we definitely want to let our audience know about the same things that they're going through, we go through, and that we're just regular, normal people. As Anthony Robbins always says, I'm not your guru, right? He's a guide. And so hopefully we can be good guides for them today. But I wanted to introduce the audience to you, and I want them to get an idea of who you are and how you got to this point. What's your backstory? Let us know, let them know how you got to this point.
Yeah. Well, I love that question. And it's actually been something that I've been thinking a lot about as I've been working on some of my own messaging in my business, is like, how did I get to this point? And I think that, from a very, very young age, I remember my mom told me this story that when I was 9 years old, and I was up sick one night. And so we were up late, and in between like my trips to the restroom, because I was not feeling very well, she was taking it as the opportunity to like really talk to her child in an intimate way. And she asked me like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And most kids, they know, right? They're like, oh, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be a police officer, or I want to be a doctor, or whatever it is. And I looked at her honestly and I said, Mom, I don't know, but I know that I want to help people.
Nice.
And that has really been, and I normally don't share that story, but since this podcast is about emotion, I think that it's a very emotional
Perfect.
component to my story. And that desire to help people has been the greatest gift, but also one of the greatest struggles for me. It's been a huge gift because I'm always people first, sometimes to the detriment that I put others before myself. But it has also been a struggle because there's no job profession where the whole job description is help people. And so it's been a really real challenge for me in my career to find something that resonates with, that I can sit with. And as a result, it means that I have worked literally in every industry you possibly can. I've worked in the public sector. I've worked in the private sector. I've worked for a nonprofit. I've worked for a corporation. I've worked in the food industry. I've worked in sales. I've worked in door to door. I've worked in warehouse management. There's just so many things that I've done as I've jumped from thing to thing to try to figure out, what do I want to be and how do I want to impact people? Like for a while, I thought I'm really passionate about food. I love food. So for a while I wanted to open up a restaurant, And I went and I was a chef in southern Utah in order to prepare to open up a restaurant. And I realized, I was like, oh, okay, food is a passion of mine, but it's definitely not a career. There was some
Oh my
really
gosh.
important things that I learned, but it was really shattering to me because I'd like put all my eggs in that basket. And
Right.
I've done multiple entrepreneurial opportunities. I've realized I've always been entrepreneurial in nature. Like as a kid, I would go to the gas station and buy candy and then resell it for more to my friends, like at school, and until the principal caught me like reselling those nasty sour warheads and said, okay, you got to cut this out. And in high school I was a private drum instructor because music was really important to me. So I mean, I've done a lot of things and I really haven't had a traditional path. And for a long time I always raked myself over the coals for not being able to, quote unquote, figure it out. It's like, why can't I just figure it out? I felt like I was wasting time by going from thing to thing. But what I didn't see was happening is that I was becoming an incredibly well-rounded, dynamic individual, that all of those things would eventually come to a pin whole head of just massive impact and unique ability to help
Right.
people because of my unique experience.
Right.
And so my background is really honestly all over the place, and it wasn't until I discovered marketing that things really started to come together and click. And it's been astounding to me the last few years, and of how marketing has just blossomed in me and taken over. But with my other entrepreneurial experiences, the biggest reasons why they failed was because I didn't have solid lead flow and I didn't understand my customers. And so I came to this realization that, okay, it doesn't matter how great you are. It doesn't matter how great your product is. If you don't have a good source of leads and a good understanding of who you're speaking to, then you're going to fail. You're going to burn out. And so I just became obsessed with understanding the customer journey and understanding how to get into your customers' minds. And I dove head first into Facebook advertising, because that is the gold of many, many entrepreneurial businesses, right? The saying, like, whoever has the gold makes the rules. Well, whoever has the leads makes the rules
Right.
in entrepreneurship. And Facebook is where so many leads can come organically and paid. So dove into that for the last few years, saddled myself with some of the top people in the industry to make sure that I understood my craft. Because, it's very easy to just flip a few switches in Ads Manager. But what's more challenging is, like, there really is an art and a science to it.
Yeah.
So, have had the opportunity and the blessing and to develop a social media marketing agency centered around Facebook the last few years, focusing in paid advertising, and have had the opportunity to work with some incredible people and grow some businesses to just.
Oh, hold on. Your mic went out. Oh, there you go. I think you're back.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I was like, wait, I need to hear that.
What was the last thing? And I
Just
can.
that you've had the opportunity to work with some great marketers and some great clients that's where you kind of cut out. So
Okay, we can splice that back in. So
yeah, no
I've
problem.
over the course of developing my Facebook advertising agency, I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible people and grow businesses to some incredible heights that has just been amazing. And what I've really realized is that by me, like, people only start a business if they're passionate about it and they feel like that's a piece of their life calling. That is like really why people do it. And so by me providing the opportunity for that business to survive and scale and grow, I am at the very essence what I wanted to do when I was 9 years old, is help people.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And I think there is that draw, with all of the entrepreneurs out there, like you said, there's something. And I can see it in my kids. Like one of my daughters, says that I don't know what I want to do, Dad. I don't know what that is. I'm like, it's okay. Just keep moving forward. And you can
Yeah, you'll
tell that
figure it out.
it's there. And I was like, you're just going to figure it out. And so it's I think it's great for them to hear the message, because I think hearing it from you will help them to understand, hey, you know what, if I don't know it yet, it's okay. Just keep moving forward, keep getting that breadth of experience to help you get to that next phase. But you certainly have. I mean, you have great testimonials from your clients that you work with, which speaks volumes about the service that you provide to them. And I suspect that there's something more to it than just the service you provide. So what do you think has been the key factor in you finding success with the people that you work with?
Yeah, well, it really comes down to I was talking to someone who was on my team who recently has come in, and so she's been watching me work with clients, and she said, like when you first hired me, like you hired me to work in the agency, and I just thought that we were going to be doing Facebook ads 24/7. She said, but really, like you only do like 20% Facebook, and then 80% is strategy. And strategy as it pertains to sales funnels, like the automated system that people come into a business. Also, there's so much that goes into understanding the target demographics of who you're marketing to. You brought up Catherine Jones earlier in our conversation. I run Catherine Jones Traffic, who runs CF Design School, and it was with her when I was working with her early that I discovered the importance of understanding the segments that you market to. When people talk about, okay, like who's your dream customer, like who's your ideal avatar, there's a lot of misconceptions around that, and where entrepreneurs really struggle is they think that they have to choose one, because it's like I have one ideal avatar or one dream customer.
Well, how many times have we heard that podcast or that master class where they're like, just choose one? I put a picture and I picked that one. I mean, you hear it all the time. It's
Yeah.
so common.
Yeah. And here's the thing is that there's a caveat to that. And it's this, is that first of all, people are dynamic, right? And so as human beings, we understand that people are multidimensional and dynamic. And so what the problem comes is when entrepreneurs are trying to pick their one avatar is they try to smash 10 people into that one. It's like you see these advertisements and you see it a lot with like supplements, right? Where they're like, are you fatigued? Do you have back pain? Are you tired? Are you wanting more time back in your life? Does your toe hurt?
Are you breathing?
Yeah. If you're any one of these things, then this product is for you. Right.
Right.
And it's like with good intention, they're trying to capture the market that's going to identify with that. But what they're misunderstanding is that, yes, you need to focus on one, but really it's which one at the time. So
right.
I go through an exercise with my clients and I help them identify what are their customer archetypes, which are essentially their segments in the market. So like with Catherine, she appeals to funnel hackers and to freelancers and independent contractors. But even within those, like with funnel hackers, there's two types. There's the person that's building funnels for themselves in their own business. And then there's the people that have like a funnel type agency. And then with the freelancers and independent contractors, there's another two types as well. There's like the virtual assistants. And then there's also the social media managers, or like the two main groups that we go after there. So even in those two subcategories, there's two categories. So there's four people, four types, four archetypes that we market to. And each one has its own system of bringing them in. It's their own warm-up sequence with ads, their own VSL, their video sales letter, or their webinar, or their sales page, because we know that their pain points that they have and their problems that they're trying to solve are different.
Right.
It's going to be different for a virtual assistant than for a funnel agency owner. And so you have to approach them differently. And as soon as we did that, our results on our ads just skyrocketed, because people were like, yes, that's me. Whereas when you go general, people are like, I mean, it's kind of me, but not really.
Yeah, that's crazy. And to have the discipline to do that, I think, is a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And so that's why they need
someone like you, because if you have the discipline and you figured out that organization of how to do it, so many entrepreneurs are like, yeah, I serve this person, but I also serve that person, and I serve this person, and you're like, no, let's figure it out, right? And
Yeah.
that sounds so cool, and it's awesome that you figured out how to do that. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's been a really, really cool journey. And I mean, and part of it is, you know, my master's degree was in organizational behavior. So I pull a lot from my studies there. And at the time I was like, why am I even getting this degree? You know, and like now, like I use it all the time, not like for the
Right.
intent that like the school, the Marriott School of Business wanted me to get it for, but like I'm still using it, you know? So
That's funny. I mean, that's so true. I mean, it's what we get our degrees in. It's like, why did I do that during that time? But I look back at my degree and I go, all right, I can see why I did that.
yeah,
You know, I can see what that's useful for now, even though it's completely not in that industry, you know.
yeah,
It's
100%.
pretty amazing. And so you have your master's and in, like you said, organizational behavior, and you kind of just alluded to it. So I'm kind of jumping to this question that I had for you, which is, you know, when you chose Facebook, there are so many platforms. I mean, it could have been Instagram, it could have been Facebook groups, it could have been, I mean, just there's a ton out there. But why? What sucked you into Facebook specifically?
Yeah, so it's I mean, I wish I could say that I spent, you know, hours deliberating over all of the social channels and like I chose Facebook, but really it Facebook kind of chose me. um, so I was working in a corporate marketing gig at the time. We were doing all kinds of marketing. We were doing everything from email marketing to flyers, TV, radio, direct mail, catalog, email marketing, Facebook marketing, Instagram. We were just doing everything. And I was really naturally drawn to the social media because of the analytics capacity that that type of direct response marketing gives. You know, you can mail out $1,000 worth of mailers and know that a certain percentage are going to convert, but like you don't know exactly how many even flipped over the card or actually looked at it, or like if they did purchase, was it from that card or was it because they got a card in the mail and then they saw a Facebook ad the next day and they were like, oh, I just got this in the mail. Yeah. Like you just don't know the impact of certain channels of marketing. Whereas with social media marketing, you have analytics down to the cent. Down to the cent. I mean, I'm running a campaign for a client that I just started yesterday, and we're running what's called a video views campaign, and we're warming up their audience to be able to promote an offer to them. And I was looking at the metrics, and it's telling me that I'm getting what Facebook calls through plays, which is they've watched at least 15 seconds. I'm getting through plays for 1 cent. It's
Wow.
like they're even like dialing it down to like 1 cent for a person to do this. And then they break it up to how many people. I have 200 people that watched 25% of the video. And then 150 people that watched 50% of the video. And then 100 people that watched 75% of the video. And then about 75 that watched 100%. And the fact that I can even narrow it down to the percentage that people watched, and then I can pull that out and say, I want to market because I know what messages were covered in 75% of that video. I can pull out that audience and say, I want you to take the audience that saw 75% of the video and I want you to show them this particular ad. Or if they only watched 25%, I want you to show them this particular ad. I mean, the capacity because of your analytics is just out of control amazing. So I'm so grateful that Facebook kind of chose me. But really what happened was I was becoming interested in Facebook for my corporate marketing job. And one of my best friends was already in the entrepreneurial world, and she was going through a course, and part of her course was learning how to do her own Facebook ads. And she's not a very analytical individual, and she said, oh my gosh, this is stressing me out. This is going to be the resistance that will stop me in business. And I was like, hey, well, I'm kind of digging this Facebook thing, and I'm doing it for my corporate job over here. I was like, I'll do it for you, and I'll learn it if you let me go through your course. And you don't have to pay me to do it. Like I'll just learn it, but you have to let me spend your money to make all the mistakes to figure it out.
Nice.
she was like, deal, because like Facebook advertisers are not cheap to work with. And so
No.
she, knew that she was getting a deal, and I felt like I was getting a deal because I would like learn for free basically. And that's where the relationship really, really, where I dug into it, where we were getting to a point where we were spending like on this one account, like $1,000 a day to bring in 3 to 5 applications for her to get on the phone and close for her coaching. And then and then I got a coach, and then it snowballed from there. But really, it was literally just my friend being like, I don't want to do this. Can you help me out? And I was like, sure. And then all of a sudden I just started to see just the massive, massive potential. I mean, with Facebook, there are 1.5 billion active users daily on Facebook, daily. And with that said, there's only about 6,000 to 7,000 active advertisers.
Wow.
So, I mean, people are feeling like, oh, like Facebook is getting jammed up, and like people are becoming more desensitized to ads. Yes. But like, is Facebook saturated? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
the numbers on that are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Wow. Only 6,000. Is that now with that 6,000, is it 6,000 advertisers, meaning marketers that are advertising their product, or are you meaning like advertising agencies?
No, it means, so what that means is if you have a business manager, so there's about 60,000 business managers that have been created, like people that have a
Right.
business page and have created a business manager
Right.
associated with it.
Yeah.
And so of those business managers, only 10% of those are actively advertising.
Like meaning consistently on a
Yeah.
regular.
Yeah.
Wow.
So whether that's an agency or that's just like you or I individually marketing our
Right.
business, like all of that is calculated in there. I heard that statistic recently uh, on Ezra Firestone's and Molly Pittman's podcast, and I was just like, "What? Like that is crazy. That is absolutely unbelievable."
That is unbelievable. I mean the numbers on that, and still Facebook is making a killing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wow. I mean, just the 60,000 by itself out of a billion
Yeah.
is that already isn't crazy number, but to take
Yeah.
it down another, just the 10% of that is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
people
Now,
say
of course,
Facebook is dying, or like you were saying, like, oh, Facebook is so overrun, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know.
no, it really isn't. I mean, they're making it increasingly more pay to play and
Yeah.
more centered on groups, but
Right.
that's okay. I mean, like I have 2 clients right now. If your community's familiar with these people in the community, Doug Boughton and Josh Forty,
Yes.
both of them, just this month we ran um, challenges out of their groups that to where they upsold them to another offer.
Right.
So like they're leveraging what Facebook is pushing. I mean, if you look at your news feed, like you'll see the trends of like how the algorithm is favoring certain things, and they're favoring Facebook groups. I mean, they're even doing TV commercials on Facebook groups right now, which is just crazy, right? That like
Yeah.
they're going to the extent to promote groups on television for Facebook. So a lot of marketers, those that are getting smart, are seeing how Facebook is leveraging that, and they're using it to their advantage. And so they're like, okay, fine. Like if groups are where it's at, and I can get cheaper leads by getting people into my group and then upselling them from there than just going direct to offer, then great. I will choose that path to
Absolutely.
success.
Yeah. And there seems like there's a lot of different uh, routes that you could go, and they'll probably be I hate to use the word exploited, but over the next little while, it'll just change from whatever the next thing is to the next thing. But that sounds like there's a lot of different avenues that can be done. And so even if one area sort of slows down a little, there seems like there's a lot of other directions, and it'll probably kick back to things that you've already done and had success with, just because it's a cycle.
Well, for sure. Yeah. Well, and it's a really innovative area of marketing as well, because so there's 2 types of marketing. There's intent-based marketing, which is where like people are searching for something, like whether it's like, oh man, my pipes burst, I need a plumber, right? And so like they're like, best plumber in Utah or whatever. Like that's intent-based marketing. And then the other aspect is, and intent-based marketing is all based on search engine optimization, right? Those are like our Google platforms, the YouTube platform, those are SEO based. But then the other part is pattern interrupt marketing. Okay, so you have intent-based marketing and then pattern interrupt. So pattern interrupt is not where people are searching you out. It's where you are searching people out, and you're saying, you're getting in front of them and you're like, hey, I think you might have this issue, or you might like this product, like pay attention. And so for pattern interrupt marketing to work, you have to literally interrupt the pattern of people's lives. And so it requires a lot of innovation. And so, and you'll notice there's themes, like someone will do something that catches fire in the pattern interrupt world, and then everyone jumps on the bandwagon. And because everyone jumped on it, it's not a pattern interrupt anymore.
And then it's got to switch again.
Yeah. And so then someone else is like, oh, all right, what if we advertise everything in black and white now? And then boom, that's like the new pattern interrupt. And then now everyone starts advertising in black and white. So then people are like, okay, what's the next new thing? Well, let's like knock on the camera, and like you saw that for a while, or like people were like knocking on the camera, and then that's the new pattern interrupt. And then everyone follows that, and then they choose something new. So it's a fun area to advertise in, because it's very innovative, because people are always trying to see, how can I get an edge on catching people's attention?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned pattern interrupt, and again, in our conversation before, I was telling you about some of my training in neurolinguistics, and that idea of a pattern interrupt actually comes from that, and it's just been reiterated a bunch of different times and turned into marketing and sales ideas. But a pattern interrupt is something that you use for yourself. So there's some really cool things that come from that. And that's why it's so powerful, is because not only is it really great for sales and marketing, but it's super great for yourself. And what they're doing in the sales and marketing is they're actually utilizing something that you need, and that they would need to make a change in somebody. If you were, say, you go back to the old greats like Virginia Satir and some of the old great psychologists of the day that and therapists that did these pattern interrupts in order to help people make change in their world. And so it's what we do, though. I mean, it's what marketers do. It's what we're after, is we're trying to help make change in somebody's world. And it takes sometimes a pattern interrupt so that we can go in and help them make change, because we naturally want to be lazy. We naturally want to just sit around and eat potato chips and watch Netflix, and that's sort of in our nature. Otherwise we wouldn't build cars and pencils. We want to be lazier. And the irony is there's such a paradox of putting in the work on the other side that sort of creates that yin and yang that we go through. But you had mentioned intent-based, and when the idea of intent-based comes up in the current light of our industry, everybody's talking about YouTube and saying that YouTube is the way to go for intent-based marketing. So what's your thought on that in regards to utilizing Facebook for intent-based advertising, rather than just going straight over to YouTube, where they say that is the thing?
Yeah. Well, I'm on that same bandwagon. I mean, YouTube,
Okay.
YouTube, and this is why. So because YouTube is intent-based, and it's owned by Google, right?
Right.
So it's obviously natural SEO fit. But like with Facebook, you have to pay to keep your stuff in the newsfeed and current, right? Facebook is designed to let things phase out and get off of people's radar, and you can't search for things.
Right.
Like you can like search for your own posts, and you can like search for posts in group, but like you can't, it's just really hard to find stuff. Whereas YouTube, anything you post there, it's archived and it's tagged with its SEO markers, and it's there forever, essentially.
Right.
And so intent-based marketing, YouTube really is the place to go. And like where people are getting really powerful is they're doing both. So like with a lot of my clients, and even with myself, with my own podcast, we'll push some ad spend behind a post, but we will also post the video in YouTube to kind of double up on And if those that are searching for, you know, how to create a good pattern interrupt for your Facebook ads, like you'll get the life of that engagement if you post that on your profile, or you put some money behind it if you post it on your page. But you'll also get that anytime someone's searching pattern interrupts in YouTube, your video has an opportunity to show up for them in those search results.
Right. Right. It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of dived into the skill side of things, and you know, to quote Anthony Robbins again, you know, the so much of our improvement and so much of what we're doing is 80%, you know, inside and only 20% outside, or 20% this skill and the other
Yeah. Yeah.
80.
Let's not avoid it. Let's go
So
there.
we're going to jump right in, right? But so I wanted to ask you, when everything wasn't working out, because there's always that time for us as entrepreneurs, when everything wasn't working out, when you had no money and it wasn't coming in, how did you keep your emotions in check and keep yourself moving through that space?
Yeah. That's such a good question. I think that I do have to say that, so my second entrepreneurial opportunity was I created a real estate investing company, and I pulled out every penny that I had from my 9-to-5 job and so I'd worked a 9-to-5 job. I stopped that to go get a master's degree, and it was in between my 2 years of my master's degree. Instead of getting an internship, I decided it'd be a good idea to start a company instead. And so I pulled out everything that I had and to start this real estate investing company. Really, really good intent. But it was not the right fit for me for a number of reasons. And I lost every penny. I literally did not make one deal. And it was one of these things where I just kept going after, because I was like, man, if I can close one deal, I make all my money back and then some. If I
Right.
can just close one deal, I make all my money back. So I just kept dumping money into networking and advertising and all just and coaching. I mean, I was all in, but it was like just not the right fit for me. And a lot of people have success in real estate. And I'll swing back around to real estate eventually, but it was not good.
Right.
And so I made the decision when I did the Facebook advertising agency to not put all my eggs in that basket cold. And I don't know the exact statistics, but I was reading something where like your chances of success as an entrepreneur change when you decide to start it as a side hustle and you're not financially dependent on it, versus if you just go cold turkey. So there's a fine balance there, because if you jump all into it, now you have 100% of your time, right? And it's easy to put the focus there. But if you have the pressure to make money, sometimes that pressure just crushes you and you actually make poor decisions and you make desperate decisions and you just struggle. So with the Facebook advertising agency, I didn't leave my corporate job until my income from the agency superseded my income from corporate. So it was actually a relatively easy transition for me financially.
Nice.
But with that said, where I struggled was my mind. It wasn't a money issue, it was a mind issue. And where I was really struggling was a lack of clarity of what I wanted to do with the skill. So because I had a lack of clarity, I just had crazy resistance. Like I was finding myself like I couldn't even like really sit at my desk and focus until after lunch. And so I was just like fiddling away my mornings. And plus like I had this like newfound freedom because I left my corporate job. So like I was like sleeping in and also and my physical body was out of check as well. I think so much of your mind is also your body, right? So last year when I realized that I was just floundering and just not really going anywhere with any purpose, and it drove me crazy because like it wasn't like I was ignorant to what was happening, but I didn't necessarily know how to fix it. And so I made the decision to put my physical and spiritual and mental self first before my business. And last year I embarked on a journey of really restoration. I call 2019 like my year of restoration. And I
Nice.
lost 70 pounds and
Wow.
got like everything just really in order. And then 2020, I've just like, just
Take it
exploded
off.
with my business because myself as an individual was in the right place. But it was a lack of clarity honestly. Like anytime I struggle, for me, it always goes back to clarity. Something is fuzzy, and so I'm spreading myself too thin, or I'm trying to chase too many rabbits. When you chase two rabbits, you catch none, right?
Right.
And so, my rabbit that I chose to chase in 2019 was my physical self. In 2020, I've built myself a business that's amazing, but it requires me to invest a lot of time. And so 2020 has become the journey of time, getting my time back. So I'm putting my systems and my team in place so I can get my time back.
Right.
Who knows what 2021 is going to be, but it's clarity for me that was the struggle. And so whenever I was struggling, I had to take a step back, sit back, and really analyze like what was going on, tell the facts to myself straight, and make a choice that would give me clarity. And every time without fail, once I have clarity, it's just like, it's as good as done.
Nice.
But that lack of clarity really, really has been a repeated struggle for me that I've had to figure out multiple times.
Right. I'm sure there's so many people that can connect with that. It's such a hard thing to talk about and actually like get clear on what it is that's happening. But I love how you said that lack of clarity is such a hard thing to discuss. It's because it's not clear, and so you say, well, I don't know the words for it. The words are, it is not clear.
Yeah.
And that's what people are searching for. I believe that the quality of our life is the quality of our communication, and that's not just to other people, but literally our communication to ourselves. What do you
I love
find
that.
yourself saying to yourself on a regular basis? Like literally, what do you find yourself saying to yourself that helps you stay positive?
Yeah, that's a really good, I love that. And here's the thing is, for me, it's been so helpful to surround myself with people that can help tell me the patterns that are not healthy. So for example, like I have a group of friends that I meet with every Tuesday, and we rotate between each other's businesses,
Nice.
and we like deep dive and like just pull each other apart and figure out like what is like the real issue of
Right.
like why you're not growing in this particular area that we bring to this group. It's such a great
That
mastermind.
sounds amazing.
So in my last mastermind with them, when it was my turn to go, I kept saying, there's this theme that's showing up in my business. I love thinking of the future and ideas and getting ideas going. But what I'm really, and I'm going to choose my language carefully, what is not as natural for me, but at the time I was saying like what I can't do, what I'm not good at, that was the language I was saying, is closing the loop on those things. So like starting an idea, but not like putting a process or a system to it to where it becomes automatic. So for example, like I started my podcast in early December last year, and just poured myself into that launch and had an amazing success. It hit number 18 in business entrepreneurship in the first 24 hours. I mean, it was just an amazing launch.
Yeah.
But then after I had this launch, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like I created this beast, and like now the time it was taking me to maintain it was actually overtaking my agency. But like the agency is where I was making money. And I was just like, oh geez. Like, so for a while I thought about killing the podcast and just being like, well, like I launched a successful thing once, like, and then I was like, no, you put all this work and this energy into it and people are responding really well. Like, do yourself a favor and hire yourself a team to close the systems. And so I hired a couple people, and they were asking me questions about like, well, have you created a template for this? Or have you thought of this? Or like, have you closed this loop? And everything was like, no, 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 no. And I was just, it was like so frustrating. And so they were like, okay, well, that's great. That's why we're here to help you close the loop on those things. And so, and I recognized the same thing was happening in the agency. It's like we've implemented a lot of ideas, but like haven't turned things into a system. And so I'm going through the same process. But anyway, when I was in this mastermind group, I kept saying, I'm not good at systems. I'm not good at finishing things. And they were like, excuse me, like you're not good at finishing things? Like, look at what you've accomplished in just a short amount of time with your podcast and with your agency and with your coaching and like, and the things that you have going on. Like, do not, or like even just losing 70 pounds, like do not say that you can't follow through with something and finish it. Like you are clearly a finisher. And they were like, you have to change your language around that and realize that it's not that you can't do something. It's that it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of putting the right systems in place. It's a matter of getting the right team members in the right positions. And so ever since then, I've been trying to, instead of like telling myself, oh, I'm not good at finishing things, saying, and it's still, you can tell I'm still struggling with it because I'm like, okay, now what are the words? But like, I'm really trying to be like, no, I just need to focus my energy and my team on helping me create a system that is automated and repeatable. Like,
Nice.
so I'm really just trying to change my language around that. But really, honestly, it has just been so helpful to have other people in my world catch me and say, don't say you can't, because I've watched you multiple times do it in an amazing fashion. So
We do that to ourselves all the time. People do that to themselves all the time. They're really good at something and then they say, well, I'm not good at that. And everybody around them looks at them and says, what are you talking about? Like, you do that all the time, you know?
yeah.
It's a human trait. It seems like it's something that's built in, and it probably comes from some sort of like self-protection mechanism, you know? But that's awesome. I mean, that's so cool that you have a group and that you've gotten into a place where you can hear that and get that feedback. And I think you know, for those of our listeners out there that missed it, guys, get in a group, get a coach, get somebody that can help you, because you are amazing and you can't always see the amazing.
Yep.
And it's so valuable. You know, you had
Yeah.
mentioned earlier that you had gotten a coach when you were learning about your Facebook ad strategies and going through that process. And I thought, gosh, you know, that again, another little gem. And you know, there's a ton that you're giving to us, but even just in that moment, it was like, yeah, you knew you wanted to do it and you got a coach. And there's so much value to that. And with all of us entrepreneurs, there's such a resistance. We all have that, to getting somebody else to help, because we want it to be our idea. We want it to be our thing. And so people resist. And yet at the same time, every time you get a coach, it's like, oh, and then finally they were able to see this and tell me. And then I got clarity and it was like, there I go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
such a cool thing that and process that you've gone through. I talk about, you know, worry and fear, because worry and fear tend to be debilitators for us, and there's such strong emotions for so many people, and we're living in that space right now, especially in our current world. But how have you learned up to this point? I mean, obviously, we know it's an ongoing process, but how have you learned to manage and control worry and fear at this stage in the game?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Sorry, I know I just keep saying that, but you really are asking such great questions. Yeah, so fear and worry, I mean, they've been a big struggle for me. When I was 22 years old, I had an opportunity to serve a full-time mission for my church, for my religious proselyting full-time mission. And I almost didn't go because I was scared. And one day I realized that like it was my fear of the unknown that was keeping me wanting to stay in what was known. And I had this realization of like how silly that is, that like really, if we're really being honest with ourselves, every time we decide to pull our sheets back and put our feet on the ground, that we're stepping into the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen that day.
It's so true.
You know, are we going to close $1 million deal? Are we going to get food poisoning or like something in between? You know, like we don't know. But like, and we can like do the work to like, you know, try our best to close that $1 million deal and to not give ourselves food poisoning. But like, you just don't know what is going to happen. And so the unknown has always been, I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that like jumps out of the plane and builds the parachute on the way down. I'm the one in the plane that's like, wait. Like, we haven't had enough training. Like, can we please go over this one more time? You know,
Right,
like
right.
and so because of that, I try to partner myself with people that are more jump out of the plane because we balance each other out.
Right. That's smart. Yeah.
But in terms of managing the fear, especially like because when the coronavirus hit in the second week of March, when everything just like started to go to pot for America in terms of closing down travel and events and stores and schools and all that, I lost 70% of my business.
Wow.
In that same week, I had just hired my first full-time employee. I did contract work. I like worked with contract workers. And in this person, I love her so much, but I mean, she was literally quitting her job to come work for me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so like the pressure that I felt was like,
Through the roof.
like, oh my goodness. Like I just really invested in my business with this teammate, and her family is depending on me. And 70% of my clients just walked out of the door because of fear and market dynamics for their businesses as well. Because their businesses just like shut down. So it was just, and we didn't know how to advertise on Facebook, right? Because like, it's really insensitive to like, be like, join this amazing opportunity, you know, when everyone else is like, where's the toilet paper? You know, like it's just,
Right.
advertising on Facebook just like kind of stopped. And until we could like recalibrate and figure out like, how do we put value out there and not be insensitive to the situation that many people are having. So it was pretty fearful. And I even was like, okay, like, do I tell my employee to try to beg for her job back? I mean, she's only been gone for a week. Do I slow everything down and just wait? Do I lean in? Like, what do I do? You know, like I was really, and there's no rule book on pandemics and entrepreneurship, at least not yet. Maybe there will be after this experience. But at the time, like, I mean, this was pretty unprecedented. And I really had to like take some time to go into myself and think, okay, like what is the worst case scenario? Like what is the absolute worst case scenario? And it's kind of a demonic game to play with yourself, but it's like, what is the absolute worst case scenario, you know? And, you know, when I looked at like my financial situation and like the absolute worst case scenario, it was like, you know what, like if worse comes to worse, you know, I go into credit card debt for a few months, but like Facebook ads, at the end of the day, for me, like Facebook ads, people will still want them. And if not still want them after the fear dies down in the world, like they'll want them even more because more and more businesses are needing to go online.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I don't know how long things are going to be depressed, but I trust that Facebook ads are going to become an even greater commodity and even bigger demand. And so, okay, now do I wait for them to become a bigger demand, or do I lean in so that I can be on the forefront when they come back into demand? And I made the choice. I was like, I've already committed to this team member. I'm really committed to the clients that I have that are sticking with me. I'm going to lean in and not let the dynamic in the world dictate my business, but stay true to the fact that I know that this is a valuable service that I offer to people.
Right. Right.
And it has just paid off huge dividends for me. And so for me, managing fear is, the fear is not going to go away. I mean, it is the opposition to our desire for success. But I always try to find a simple way to act in fear, because fear really creates paralysis, right? Where you don't act. And I think that when you don't act, fear gets bigger and it starts to take over. And so I always try to, when I'm in fear, I always try to find one small way that I can act and move forward on something that I'm certain about. And that really has just made a huge difference for me.
Wow. Yeah. That's, I can't even imagine what you went through to do that. That's, and still, you know, like it's an ongoing process, but that's awesome. All right. So for our last set of things, I do a little bit of a speed round. I kind of took inspiration from John Lee Dumas, you know, with his lightning round. But this one's just about your go-to emotions. And so I'll give you a scenario or situation, and I'm looking for when things are going well, what's your go-to emotion? And when things are going poorly, what's your go-to limiting emotion? And so it's a little vulnerable. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's great.
But pretty simple. It'll make sense as we go. So, what is your go-to emotion when things are going well for business?
Can I pick two?
Sure.
All right. So I am really thrilled, but also skeptical.
Okay. All right.
Like I'm
And
thrilled, but I'm like, how long is this gonna last? Like,
right, right,
you know,
right.
and not that I think that it's gonna go away, but I'm always just like, I'm always trying to get rid of my scarcity, and that's like a piece that's like still lingering. Is like, I need to, like, I had a friend who I was telling her I just reached a new financial milestone, and she was like, I was like, well, but I don't know. Like, is it going to stay there? Like, she was like, what would you do if you knew that you could never go below that now? And I was like, well, I do this, this, and this. She's like, then do that. Like, cause that's what's going to take you to your next milestone, instead of like retreating and like being like a squirrel and hoarding my acorns, you know? And so I'm trying to get over that. So like, I'm like thrilled, but I'm also like skeptical, and I'm trying to get rid of that and have a more abundance mentality.
Nice, nice. And
Sorry,
what's
that
your
was not very
limiting?
speedy, but I
No,
feel
no,
like I
that's
had to
okay.
explain it.
That's all right. What's your limiting emotion when it comes to business? What's the go-to limiting emotion?
I get stressed out really, but I will allow stress creates confusion for me, which creates a lack of clarity, which creates a lack of action. And so I will often get stressed instead of like just trusting like it's gonna work out, like
Yeah.
swimming is fine, but I get stressed.
Okay. What's your go-to emotion for when things are going well for partnerships, business partnerships?
Um, I am excited.
Okay.
We'll go with excited.
All right. And the limiting when things are going poorly.
Um, wishing that I put a better contract in place.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So let's see. I just trying to protection. I think
Okay.
is like the emotion there.
Uh, in what's your go-to emotion when things are going well for coaching when you are the coach?
Oh, for me that is like straight flow and euphoria. I love coaching and teaching.
Nice. And limiting?
Um, I feel bad. Like I feel a sense of responsibility. I feel a sense of responsibility for my clients. So if they're struggling, I probably am too attached, but I feel bad.
Okay. And when you're being coached, what's your go-to emotion when things are going well?
Um, just feeling like on top of the world. Like, yes, we're making progress, figuring things out.
And what about limiting when you're being coached?
For me, it's definitely frustration.
Okay.
I consider myself to be a very smart and intellectual individual. So when I'm not getting something that they're trying to communicate, it's very, very frustrating for me.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so,
Um, whether currently or in the past, what's your go-to emotion for relationships when things are going well?
when things are going well, an attitude of giving,
Okay. And limiting?
limiting. I become really reserved.
Right. Okay. And that's the end of our lightning round for emotions. Piece of cake.
How awesome is that? I love that.
Super fun. And, it's just so fun for, I say fun, but I think it's nice for other entrepreneurs and uh, struggling entrepreneurs specifically, that they're like, okay, I'm not alone. Like we're in this game together. Like, I thought I had to be like superhero to pull this off. It's like, no, we're normal. We're regular people. We all go through it, you
Yeah.
know? But okay, so you are, like I said at the beginning, you're doing just some amazing things. You're touching people's lives, and they don't even know, because you're kind of playing some of the behind the scenes. But as you've now started to get into the front of the scenes, and you have a great podcast, you have some really cool things going on. So I'd love you to tell the audience about your stuff. What can we direct them to? How can we get them back to you?
Yeah, well, this is awesome. And I really, Michael, really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. So let's see, there's a few places you can find me. So if you want to listen to the podcast, my podcast is called The Marketing Matrix. You can find it on pretty much on most streaming platforms. But if you go to themarketingmatrixpodcast.com, it'll direct you to whatever your preferred listening platform is, whether that's iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or whatever it is. So, and one thing that we love to give our listeners is we have what we call the Marketing Matrix Toolbox. We are gathering all of these marketing resources from all the guests that I have on there. And we've had some amazing guests on the podcast, and that's all in one members area, and that's for free. So if you want access to just tons and tons of marketing resources, and we're adding to it every week with every guest that we have, you can go to toolbox.themarketingmatrixpodcast.com to get a hold of that. If you want to join the conversations around marketing that we're having, I'd love for you to come and join my Facebook group. So my Facebook group is called Facebook Ads for Coaches, Course Creators, and Lifestyle Brands. It's named that for the SEO benefits that Facebook does have. It's not a very creative name, but it works for the search results. So we have conversations about marketing specifically around paid advertising. But that's an awesome community. So if you want to hit that up, it's facebook.com/groups/FBAdNinjas. And so we would love to have you come be an ad ninja there and to join that. So yeah, let's see. So you can follow me on Instagram as well. Lisanne Murphy HQ is my handle. Facebook, add me as a friend. There's always lots of great content going on my profile. And yeah, I have a gift. If you're into Facebook ads already, and you are trying to figure out how to read the metrics that Facebook gives you, because that's like really the key to being successful, is understanding the statistics. I have a guide where I've put together, it's like the ultimate cheat sheet, all the stats that Facebook gives you, how they're calculated, where they come from, what range you want it to be in to know if your ad is healthy or not, and how it relates to the creative, so you can know how to affect the stats. It's like, seriously, all my private clients, it's my favorite tool. It's their favorite tool that I have. And you can go pick that up at MidasTouchSocial.com. So if you go to MidasTouchSocial.com, you can pick that up for sure. So yeah, lots of places to follow the conversation, join the conversation, see what we're talking about. But yeah, we're having a good time talking about marketing and just being real and authentic about it, and making a difference, and not being a sleazy marketer in the process.
Right, exactly. And if you love your business and you love serving people, you need to go get all this stuff, because it's all awesome. I've gotten it and used it myself. You need to go binge listen her podcast, because it's amazing. And guys, don't pass up this opportunity to go and work with Lisanne. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you so much. And thanks for being so forthcoming and so genuine. And thank you for all your hard work that you're doing for the community and all of us entrepreneurs out here. I thank you.
Oh, likewise, Michael. And thanks for putting together this great podcast. It has just been a joy and pleasure to be here. And I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to just be real about what's really going on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Hey, lifers, don't forget to get your free copy of the Every Minute book. You can find it at everyminutebook.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.